I got some apocalyptic news for you guys. Let's go. The Post-Millennial reports largest U.S. power grid faces level 1 emergency as Biden's decarbonization policies take effect. Record-breaking temperatures are hitting all the big cities. Not to mention, these Canadians are trying to choke us out. You know, we got our power grid. Our power went out at our new facility. The power went out. It was a storm, though. They say on Thursday, the largest U.S. power grid operator, PJM Interconnection LLC, issued a level 1 emergency over concerns they would not be able to maintain adequate power reserves as customers deal with scorching temperatures. According to Bloomberg, PJM issued a call for all power plants to operate at full capacity to deal with the increased use of air conditioners as much of the country went under a heat advisory. So this is not so much about Biden's policies. It's more so that, I guess...
It's a hot summer. It's bloody hot.
Well, what are they saying? It's like the hottest month on record or something, or the hottest day or something?
It's because we didn't pay enough in carbon taxes last year, and therefore you haven't seen the immediate payoff of increased carbon taxes.
You know what I love, though? I love the meme where it's like the climate change politicians are proof the government can control the weather.
That's funny.
Right?
It's absurd. First of all, we can all agree on the RFK Jr. principle. Pollution is bad. We want to enact policies that doesn't result in more pollution. The idea that we're going to control carbon emissions and that's going to have an immediate effect on the environment. Okay, if you believe that, and I'll talk to Trudeau again. If you believe that crippling the Canadian economy, which represents 1.5% of global emissions, is not what you want. What you want is someone who's going to be harder on China, which would have ironically been not the person that you have in the White House now in the States. So it's ass backwards from beginning to end, even if you believe the premises of the climate act.
Look, but I don't. I think that trying to stop people from producing waste is a misguided effort. If they're going to poop, they're going to burn stuff to stay warm and to stay cool. You need to reuse the waste. We need a global effort to reuse the carbon dioxide and methane coming out of those machines.
True, but I don't think when people are talking about that type of reducing waste, I'm curious to know, like, you know, in Canada, by the way, now you can't get plastic straws. So it's all this paper straw. At all. Can't get plastic cutlery. So you're getting, I don't know what it's made out of. I don't know what the environmental footprint. It might be like cornmeal stuff. Yeah. Straws are paper. Straws are actually paper. So you go get a Starbucks coffee. You better drink it fast because your straw's not going to last. That should be the new logo for Starbucks.
Hold on. What if we replace straws with cookies? You ever had those cookie straws?
No.
I mean, this sounds delicious.
What they do is they line, it's a cookie, and the inside's lined with chocolate. So when you're drinking, it doesn't dissolve and then you eat the straw afterwards.
Yeah, and then you're going to get diabetes and all sorts of other issues.
Come on, just a cookie. What's giving you diabetes is the cookie crumble mocha frap with 2 pumps of vanilla and caramel on top. You know, if you just did a regular cold brew with a cookie straw, you're good. But, you know,
But the thing that I do wonder, I don't know what the carbon footprint or the emission footprint is, even of the corn compressed meal cutlery or the paper straws, the dye that goes into that. Like, I don't know what the cost benefit has been done to determine that this is better for the environment than that, other than a simple plastic bad, this is paper, therefore it's good. If you don't know how the process, you know, what goes into that in the first place, it could be even worse, like electric cars could be even worse than gas cars.
I think we should ban air conditioners just outright.
Today.
Yes, right now. And
based.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking we want to crank the heat up on the people who don't work, who are entitled, who are demanding. So my attitude is like, let me tell you, if tomorrow, you know, aliens came down and just went like, "Nyeh," and pressed a button and all air conditioners disappeared, I would be okay. Now, in all seriousness, a lot of elderly people and people who are at risk, we don't really want that. My point is, we have such luxury, and the pollution, all the stuff we're talking about, it's typically not the people listening to this show. It's typically not the people in rooms like this. When you come out into the country, what do I see? Solar panels, generators, chickens, septic systems. The people who live outside of cities are living substantially more sustainable lives than people in the cities. The people in the cities are overwhelmingly Democrat voting for policies. Why? It's obvious. They want things, and they want to make sure that everyone has to cut back so they can maintain their standard of living. It scales up. The ultra wealthy. We talk about them buying property on beachfronts and flying in private jets. They say everyone's got to cut back. Everyone's got to cut back because of global warming. What they're really saying is, if you don't cut back, I don't get to fly on my jet. You all better cut back so I can keep flying on my private jet.
Yup.
Because I'm important. My time is important. I'm needed.
Oh, because it feels good.
Got to spread the word.
Feels good.
You got
Come
to
on.
go city to city complaining about carbon emissions.
We love air conditioning. That's my point. And there are people in these cities who have everything handed to them. Fresh running water, clean running water, refrigeration, air conditioning, and they complain they deserve more. And I'm not saying people don't deserve to live better lives. I'm just saying, like at a certain point, you got a big city. It is polluting like crazy. It is concentrating human waste, and not just in the biological, but in the consumerist fashion.
Pharmaceuticals, all that.
Pharmaceuticals, plastics. People out in the middle of nowhere are not large contributors to a lot of this. Look, we have our own eggs. People who live out in the country, they're more likely to have backyard chickens. They don't go and buy plastic cartons of eggs. They are less likely to contribute to the problem. But in these cities, they're voting for policies to force the people who are doing things right to live crappier standards so that they can maintain their awful standards.
Well, I don't get. I think that the mentality is okay. They want to shut down some power. I don't know what Biden's plan is right now. That's threatening to annihilate our electrical grid. But it's like, okay, too much air conditioning, but it requires the pollution to get the air conditioning. So we need to make these people suffer by turning off their air conditioning. Am I getting this out properly?
I'm not literally.
No, this is what I think the Biden mentality is like we need less oil burning. So we need these people to they're going to have to suffer. They're not going to get their air conditioning because the only way for them to get air conditioning is to create pollution, and the pollution's too dangerous. So he's going to make people use less electricity. I don't understand.
I got solutions for everybody. You know, we can build structures that remain cool.
Well, I was going to say, you're talking in the big city environment. You are talking about more pavement, more heat in and of itself. Yep. Out in the country, it's green grass. It's still hot. But like you say, Tim, I mean, I notice a lot of open windows and clothes drying outside instead of in dry clean in drying machines, whatever they're called.
I mean, if we fundamentally changed the way we build homes and we built down instead of up, they'd be cooler. So we have at our studio we have geothermal heating and cooling. Underground tends to be around 50 some odd degrees. So when it's cold outside, you concentrate heat from underground and start bringing that in. Granted, there's a little bit more to it. But for our air conditioning, it's ridiculously low energy relative to compression because all we are doing is pulling heat from the room and then running it underground to dissipate it where it's cold. So it's a lot easier and cheaper to cool. You could build downward structures and not need heavy air conditioning. In fact, back in the day, how would they keep food cold to preserve it? They put it in the basement. Mm-hmm. Now it's the craziest thing that we've abandoned all of that basic pantry stuff because we just have refrigerators. It's like, well, we should do both. I mean, we shouldn't get rid of good traditional practices which save energy and prolong life just because it got easier. But this is the reality of it.
In France,
people can't ride horses anymore because we have cars. And we say nobody needs to learn how to ride a horse anymore. Well, there was a funny meme about cargo ships using kites to preserve energy. And they're literally doing this. Kites are very different from sails, but it's a similar principle. Sails you can actually sail. I'm not a sailing expert. Many of you listening probably know, but I know that you can go like 45 degrees at the wind and then tic tac left and right to sail, forward when the wind is blowing at you. That's how you move in that direction. Kites more so is what I was told by a sailing guy. They launch when they have the wind at their backs. Why did we ever stop using that? Simply because we invented the combustion engine or the steam engine, right? We should absolutely utilize these things. But you know what? If my recommendation to people is to learn where in your life you can do these things because it cuts your costs. Like having your own chickens, growing your own food. First of all, chickens are great.
Your chickens put out, I was talking to someone earlier, like 10 to 12 eggs a day.
No, it's like 30.
That's
it
a
depends.
lot.
We have many chickens.
I think when it's hotter, they make more.
That's amazing. I was thinking
Not too hot.
You have an animal that craps out food that you can eat for breakfast. And then
eats
you eat
bugs.
it and then you crap it out.
And
It's like a circle of life.
They eat the bugs and give us eggs.
The eggs are
And
so
they make
good.
more, like, unless you're eating eggs every day, you're going to fall behind. If you have,
We
like,
can't
more
keep
than a
up,
handful.
dude. We have 30 employees, but it's not like everyone's going to eat an egg every day. So we made deviled eggs the other day. We had a bunch.
Those are good, by the way.
Yeah, very delicious.
In France, they did a green roof policy in 2015 of March, and it says that all new commercial buildings need to either have plants on the roof, partially covering the roofs, or solar panels.
Yeah, we
Apparently.
have places like that in U.S. cities. The problem is, like Tim was saying, they have large pollution centers, these major cities, and each 10, 15-story building is all glass. And air conditioning is one of the worst greenhouse gas contributors. So if you do want to do something, stop building all glass structures and then trying to cool them in Miami.
It
makes no sense.
I have a theory. I think that a lot of what's going on has nothing to do with climate change, and it had nothing to do with COVID. It has everything to do with war. We talked about this during the COVID lockdowns. One of the biggest things that changed was working from home. You have a company in New York, major economic hub. A company based out of there has 1,000 employees. They all work in the same building. One nuclear strike on New York, and that company ceases to exist. Massive economic downturn for the United States. They even had that New York PSA about what to do in the event of a nuclear strike.
Take a shower, wash your clothes.
COVID happens. People spread out, leave cities. Many wealthier people leave cities, decentralize, making it harder to destroy these companies, and begin working remotely, creating a decentralized network of the U.S. economy. All at the same time, we're concerned about war with China. I've been thinking about this with solar panels. There is one tremendous benefit to having solar panels. We have solar panels at our new studio that we're building, and we have backup batteries. I do not have them because I'm helping the environment. I know that it actually takes more energy to produce these things than you'll get out with unless you wait like 30 years. I have it so that I can have power when the power goes out and the show can go on. It's a backup for the show. We have backup batteries all over the place here because if it rains, the show will not shut down. Granted, you got to have backups upon backups. At the new facility, we have a ridiculous solar system and a ridiculous backup battery system, so the whole building can be powered for like 3 days in the event of a major power outage. The real benefit to solar power is if there is a strike on the U.S. or an attack on the grid, decentralized power generation through solar or otherwise means we will not be shut down completely. And so I think a large component of why they're pushing this stuff is because they don't want to come out and say, we genuinely fear with the fall of the petrodollar and China's potential incursion into Taiwan and Russia into Ukraine, World War III is on the horizon. So y'all better start prepping for it. They don't want panic. They want economic upturn, and they want policies that will move people into a direction that will protect us in the event of a major war. I'm not saying that's the only component. I'm saying it's a large component.
Yeah, or natural disaster. Something could knock out the electric grid. The electric grid's super, super vulnerable. Those power lines are above ground, just sitting there out in the open. All those power lines, they're just vulnerable targets. So I see what you're saying.
In World War II, I think it was World War II. Or I'll put it this way. At Grand Central Station, there was like a main central controller for the railroad track or something like that, for switching the lines, and it was you had to go through a secret passage to find it, because they were concerned that German saboteurs would go in and shut down Grand Central Station, which would massively disrupt U.S. economic operations, which is a key strategy in winning a war. I learned that story and I see what's going on, and I'm like, man, if a nuke hits New York, this economy is like 20, 30% off,
It's not a crazy idea. But I think if a nuke hits New York, the solar panels are for individual existence. I don't think we're worrying about an economy anymore. We're worrying about individual existence. But that's an interesting theory, is to not be dependent on a grid, on a system.
But a nuke, I use that as like a more of a device, not a literal. Obviously, if
something catastrophic that hits, if it's another 9/11,
a nuclear power plant gets sabotaged and the grid goes down, or
earthquake, meteor strike,
EMP from a solar flare is.
But I do think a consideration is right. Natural disasters. Can we, as an economy, survive in these circumstances? And I do think a component is, are we weak because we've centralized too much of our economy in our grid?
Not weak, vulnerable.
Vulnerable, right. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.